Hi, welcome or welcome back. My name is Yuna. I hope you and yours have been taking care of yourselves, and thank you for joining me today for yet another TBR video. I'm actually filming this and it is only just past the middle of June, but I'm trying to get ahead of another crazy month where I'm gonna have a lot going on. So I'm trying to just squeeze in some filming. But before we skip ahead, just wait a second because I want to tell you to keep your eyes out for a giveaway that I'm going to be doing to celebrate hitting 10,000 subscribers. I was so stoked that we hit 10,000 subscribers earlier this month, and it's taking me a little bit of time to get myself together and get my shit together to figure out what I want to do, but I think I am pretty much finalizing the details of what I want to do and the timeline and all of that, and I will be announcing the details, I'm pretty sure, in my June wrap-up video, which will probably come out the first week of July, I'm pretty sure. So keep your eyes out for that. I'll also post it in my Instagram, and I will put it in the post section of my YouTube page. It's not going to be anything crazy. It's going to be a small fun giveaway, but I wanted to do a little something fun just to celebrate. And it will be open to international subscribers. I am trying to think of multiple ways that people can receive a prize if they are our winner and aren't based in the United States. So it might be a little funky, but hopefully we'll be able to figure it out. But I will share all the details in the July wrap-up video. Nope, I lied to you. June wrap-up video, so keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye on Instagram, and again, keep an eye out for a post on my YouTube page. There'll be multiple ways to enter, and you can get additional entries to the giveaway if you do things like follow me on Instagram. So all the information will be forthcoming, so just pay attention to this page for the announcement, and thank you again for being part of the 10,000 people who are here listening to me ramble and talk nonsense into the ether. I really do mean that though, because on any day I feel like I have a maximum of 3 brain cells to rub together to get out a single coherent thought. So it is honestly just baffling to me that there are even like 5 of you who are willing to listen to me talk. So yeah, 10,000, super exciting. I actually think that by the time that I was filming this, I think we hit 11,000 already. I think. So I just wanted to get that in before people started skipping ahead to the book content. But now we will talk about the books that I'm hoping to read in July. As always, I know I'm repeating myself for people who have seen my previous TBR videos, but my TBRs are not promises or contracts. They're just soft hopefuls. There's just potential books that I am going to prioritize trying to read, but depending on 1,000 different things like library holds coming through or whatever, I may switch it up. Some of these I may not read. I may read most of them. None of them. We'll see. In front of me, I have 14 books that I'm hoping to get to in July. Of them, there are 3 middle grade books, there are 2 novella length books, and then the rest of them are like full length regular books. Some of these have been patiently sitting on my shelf giving me puppy dog eyes for years, and some of these are new purchases, they're new releases that I am very curious about. So yeah, let's just dive in. Let's get into it. The first book I have on my TBR is a old favorite of mine. This is a book that I read many years ago and touched my soul so deeply, and I think it is about time for a reread. I think I've realized that I'm in need of some writing that feels soothing to the soul. I read the Monk and the Robot series this month, and something about the way that it made me feel reminded me of this writer, and I was like, you know what? It's been a while since I've picked up Mary Oliver. If you don't know Mary Oliver, if you have never read Mary Oliver, I'm begging you to pick up one of her works, and any of her works would be incredible. Upstream, I love. I've read Upstream, I've read Devotions, and I've read a couple of her other poetry collections. I can't remember what they're called because she has many books. I think I've read Swan, and I've read one other, and I actually have 2 books that I purchased that are on the way to me. But Mary Oliver is an incredible poet slash essayist who writes about nature, her observations about nature, and how she relates that to existence and to life and to joy and purpose and her relationship with creatures in the natural world. And she does it so beautifully. I think I have to say she is my favorite poet. I mean, I've read her, like I said, years ago, and I've read many poets in between, and there are many whom I think are incredible and have moved me, but there's something about Mary Oliver where I feel like she takes my soul right out of my heart and body and somehow translates it down in words on paper. Like, it doesn't even feel like I'm reading the thoughts of another person. I truly feel like she has somehow looked into me, touched my essence, and reflected my thoughts and my feelings and my heart just through her words onto paper. I don't even care if that sounds dramatic. There's just something so special about Mary Oliver. This is Mother Mary to me. This is my holy girl poet. I'm just gonna say it. She just has so much soul and gentleness and love and introspection, and she's a queer icon. There's so many good things I could say about her. This one is a collection of essays slash poems. I'm pretty sure there are some poems, or is it all essays? Okay, fine, it's mostly essays. Upstream's collection of essays in which revered poet Mary Oliver reflects on her willingness to lose herself within the beauty and mysteries of the natural world and the world of literature. Throughout this collection, Oliver positions not just herself upstream, but us as well, as she encourages us all to keep moving, to lose ourselves in the awe of the unknown, and to give power and time to the creative and whimsical urges that live within us. This is so nostalgic because I read this book back before I started using colored tabs, and I just dog-eared a bunch of pages. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but so many of these pages are dog-eared. So I'm very excited to go back and see what I thought was impactful then, and see if anything changes, if I pick up on anything new. But I'm very excited to read this. I feel like this is going to be a much needed hug for my soul. I think in the future I'm going to do a dedicated video for Mary Oliver. Maybe when I get the 2 books that I've ordered, I'll do a kind of cozy mini reading vlog for her 2 books, because I'm sure they're going to be incredible. I just don't think that I'm going to dislike anything this woman writes. For any of you who watched my queer recommendations video part 2, I have good news for you, because nobody is going to have to bully me. The next 3 books that I have on my list are all from River Solomon. I'm doing it. I'm reading River Solomon. Screw it. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I've wanted to read their books for so long, and I've had these books sitting on my shelf, so we're doing it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to read their books as a reading vlog, but I'm not entirely sure how many books I want to include, because I just feel like their books are going to be incredibly generative and thought-provoking and weird, and this is going to give me a lot to think about, and I'm going to have a lot to say. So I don't know how many books I can reasonably fit into a vlog, so maybe I'm thinking just doing 2. For my June reading vlog, which was my queer reading vlog, I had structured that in such a way that I just wanted to try and squeeze as many books as I could, and so I did fewer check-ins, and I kept the check-ins pretty brief so that I could talk about like 6-7 books without it being a 5-hour video. No one wants to watch that, and I certainly don't want to edit that, so I was trying to keep it brief, but I just feel like for these books, that structure is not going to work, because I just sense that I'm going to have thoughts. I do want to read the books in publication order is what I've decided, so I'm going to start with An Unkindness of Ghosts. So An Unkindness of Ghosts is River Solomon's debut novel, and this is a sci-fi story about a neurodivergent healer who lives on a spaceship called Matilda. The spaceship has this segregated social structure that is, I think, supposed to mirror slavery in the United States. I mean, the ship is called Matilda, which I'm assuming is supposed to be kind of a nod to the Cathilda, something like that. It was the last known slave ship that brought enslaved African people to the United States. So I'm assuming, I feel like that's intentional. So there's supposed to be this segregated racist social system slash hierarchy on this ship, and this healer is there, and I don't really know much else. Actually, I haven't even read the back of this book. This is just what I've picked up on the internet, but I will actually read it for you now. Aster has little to offer folks in the way of rebuttal when they call her ogre and freak. She's used to the name. She only wishes there was more truth to them. If she were truly a monster, she'd be powerful enough to tear down the walls around her until nothing remains of her world. Aster lives in the low-deck slums of the HSS Matilda, a space vessel organized much like the antebellum South. Okay, so for generations, Matilda has ferried the last of humanity to a mythical promised land. On the way, the ship's leaders have imposed harsh moral restrictions and deep indignities on dark-skinned sharecroppers like Aster. Embroiled in a grudge with the brutal overseer, Aster learns there may be a way to improve her lot if she's willing to sow the seeds of civil war. Next, I'm going to read The Deep, which I'm pretty sure is the second published book, and this is a novella, so I feel like I might be able to squeeze this into the vlog, even if I end up choosing to do one book, just because it is short, so I could probably just give one update after I've read it. But this was actually my introduction to River Solomon, and I haven't read it, but it was the first book that I heard of from them and that I picked up, and I love this cover. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a mer person on the cover, and there's whales in the background. I love whales. If you don't know anything about me, know that I love whales. This is a novella about a society of mer people who are descendants of thousands of pregnant enslaved African women who were thrown overboard from slave ships. Is that not just like the most fire premise you've ever heard? I heard that and I was like, I want it. Then the last book of theirs that I think I'm going to try to read for this month is Sorrowland. I also have their other book, Model Home like somewhere right here, but I think I'll save that for another month and try to make this the last book of theirs that I read for this month. And this one is one that I don't even know what genre this is. I've looked it up and I get literary fiction, I get horror, I get body horror, I get gothic sci-fi, I've gotten thriller, I've gotten fantasy, I've gotten it seems to be one that is a mix of genres and can't be nailed down to one category, which I love. Sorrowland straight up said, bitch, you're not putting me in a box. This one sounds really bizarre and I'm very curious to get to this. This is about an albino black woman who escapes from like a religious cultish community, and she escapes from their facility, community, town, wherever they're living, and ends up running into the woods, and she gives birth to twins in the woods, after which she starts to undergo this bizarre, mysterious physical change. I'm not entirely sure what the physical change is, but something happens. Once again, I feel like this is a book that has a lot to say and is going to make me think a bunch of thoughts, and I'm going to have a lot of words to say about it. And actually, I haven't read the back of this book either, so I will read that. Vern, 7 months pregnant and desperate to escape the strict religious compound where she was raised, flees for the shelters of the woods. There she gives birth to twins and plans to raise them far from the influence of the outside world. But even in the forest, Vern is a hunted woman. Forced to fight back against the community that refuses to let her go, she unleashes incredible brutality far beyond what a person should be capable of, her body racked by inexplicable and uncanny changes. To understand her metamorphosis and to protect her small family, Vern has to face the past and, more troublingly, the future, outside the woods. Finding the truth will mean uncovering not only the secrets of the compound she fled, but also the violent history of America that produced it. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I feel it deep in my bones. This is gonna be incredible. Trust. Next, I'm going to breeze through the next two books because they are refugees from last month's TBR. I didn't end up getting to these books, so I am going to hope that I can get to them in July. The first is Seasons of Glass and Iron by Amal El-Motar. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I've talked about it in multiple videos, but it's a series of short collections from one of my favorite authors, and I'm going to be doing this as a buddy read with a friend on Instagram, and she ordered her book and is waiting for it to arrive, so I'm hoping it'll arrive in time for us to read it in July, but we'll see. The next book that I didn't end up getting to last month is The Unnamed by M.S. Masood. This is described as a Southwest Asian, North African inspired Rumpelstiltskin retelling with a anti-colonial flavor, so obviously I had to grab it. I actually picked this up at the Indie Artists Alley, the Indie Authors Alley. The Indie Authors Alley at BookCon. And I was hoping to get to it last month. It didn't happen, but fingers crossed I will find time to get to it in July. Okay, next I have a book that I feel like I don't really see anywhere on YouTube. I don't know that I've heard anyone talk about it. I'll have to look it up, but it is Luster. This is a debut novel by Raven Leilani. And this book is about a young black woman who is a struggling sort of aspiring artist. And she ends up in a relationship with this white man who is in an open marriage, and it sounds like a messy scenario because she is romantically sexually involved with this white man, but also I think she lives with him and his wife, so she also has some sort of relationship with his wife, and then also becomes like a mentor type of figure for the married couple's adopted black daughter. That is messy. That is so many lines and types of messy. I am so curious about this book. I have heard that it is written with like a dark sense of humor and very sharp, witty commentary, so I feel like this could be really good. Just based on that wild-ass premise, I feel like this is going to be a book that has a lot to say about things like relationships and power dynamics and how things like sex and race really kind of interweave into those power dynamics and relationships. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. And if you've read this book, like I said, I haven't heard very much about it, so let me know what you thought in the comments. Now I have another book that I've talked about in a couple videos, so I'm gonna breeze by this one. Honey in the Moon by Cheong Han. I'm so excited to show you this copy because I ended up selling the US version that I had, that I showed in another video, and I ordered the UK edition because look at this cover. It is so cool. I love it. I love this cover way more than I like the US cover. I think it's way more eye-catching. I don't understand why that happens. I feel like 8 out of 10 times the UK cover is my preference over the US covers. I feel like US covers have to step up their game. I'm still not sure if this is more magical realism or straight up fantasy, but this book is about a family of Koreans who are living during the Japanese occupation. They're living under Japanese rule, and this book focuses on the women in the family who all have different interesting powers. A sister disappears and returns as a tiger. A mother's voice compels the truth from any tongue. A granddaughter divines secrets in dreams. And I think the main character of this book, Youngja, is able to infuse her feelings into cooking. It's love, peace, delight, the ability to infuse her cooking with her feelings. So it follows these women. I don't know if it's multi-generational. I don't know if it focuses on Youngja. I haven't looked into it too deeply, but very excited for this one. It is another debut novel. Is this debut? I'm not sure. It doesn't say if it's a debut or not, but also doesn't say that she has any other books out. But it just dropped in May or April? I don't know. It dropped recently. So yeah, another book I'm very excited to get to. Alright, let's talk about Homegoing by Yajasi. This is Yajasi's other novel. I recently read Transcending Kingdom, and I mentioned that Transcending Kingdom is a book that I thought was really well done and talked about very important, poignant things, but for whatever reason, it was a book that just didn't connect with me personally as strongly as I wanted to. It was very much on a logical processing level. I understood how good the book was, but emotionally it didn't hit me as much as I wanted to. Obviously I felt things. I'm not a cold stone, but I felt things, but it just didn't hit me as strongly as I was hoping. So I'm hoping that Homegoing is going to be the one that I feel more deeply in my gut. Homegoing is about two half-sisters from Ghana, and it follows their lives and how their lives diverge, and it follows multiple generations of their families to show the effects of that divergence. One sister ends up becoming enslaved and taken to the United States, while the other sister ends up marrying a slaver. It's multi-generational. It follows the sisters, and then I think, was it 8 or 9, like a lot of generations of their families in both ways. I imagine this is going to have a lot to say about slavery, about inherited trauma, generational trauma, the legacy of slavery. So I feel like based on that description, it's going to be really powerful. It's another shorter book. This one is less than 200 pages as well. So I'm really curious how Ya ends up covering almost 10 generations of people and their stories and lives in less than 300 pages, but however she ends up doing it, I'm ready for the ride. Next book I'm hoping to get to next month is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. I talked about this, I think, in my first queer recommendations video, and this is a Booker Prize from 2019, and it's a book I feel like I don't really hear talked about again that often. I think I've seen it once or twice on like both Instagram and YouTube, but it is definitely not a book that I feel like has gotten a whole lot of hype recently. It might have been talked about more in 2019 when it won the Booker Prize, but recently I feel like I haven't heard too much about it, and I'm very intrigued. This book is about the tangled, interconnected lives of 12 Black British women. I'm not sure how entangled they are or how connected they are. I don't know if they're distantly connected. I don't know if they're related. I'm not sure about any of that, but the cast seems pretty diverse. We have everyone from a non-binary influencer to a lesbian playwright to I think they said one of the characters is an old woman who's like almost 100 years old and she lives on a farm. Sparklingly witty, centering voices we often see othered, and written in an innovative, fast-moving form, this is a polyphonic social novel by a masterful writer who has finally been lauded at the level she has long deserved. I'm definitely pulled in by the innovative, fast-moving form description. I love an unconventional structure. I love prose that blurs the lines between poems and prose and just like other different structures. I love me some of that, so I'm very curious to see how that actually, I'm flipping through and I can see visually that this is not the most conventional or common structure for a book. So this one I feel like is going to be another book that makes me think and has a lot to say. The next book I'm going to talk about, I feel like unless you've been living in a secret society under a bomb shelter under a rock for the past year, you must have heard of this book. It freaking blew up, and I have not been able to get away from this book on the internet. I feel like everyone is talking about it, and I saw recently that I think it has a film deal, and Anne Hathaway is supposed to be the main character. It's everywhere. It's very popular. So many people are talking about it. You probably guessed Yesteryear. This is Carol Claire Burke's debut novel, and damn, she did something right because girl got her bag. I want to see what all the fuss is about. I want to see if it is worth all of the hype. I mean, I've heard some mixed feedback about it. It's not that all the hype is necessarily positive, but it has certainly been the genesis of a lot of conversations and disagreements and whatever. So I want to see, what is this girl about? The story follows a trad wife influencer that gets punted back in time somehow to the 1850s, where she ends up having to live on an actual farm and live the actual farm life that she has been romanticizing and performing for social media. I'm assuming that she's been doing a sort of like cottagecore trad wife aesthetic for whatever social media the protagonist is popular on. And then she ends up back in time where she actually has to like walk through mud and shovel shit and like milk cows. And she is faced with the reality of what that lifestyle actually was. Based on what I've read, I think it's supposed to be a satirical exploration of things like social media personas, what it means to perform womanhood, what it means to perform a certain aesthetic and type of life, and all of that. So I feel like it could be very good, but I've heard mixed reviews, and I don't know if it's just people hating on a popular book and, like, you know, wanting to be devil's advocate, or if it is I have no idea. I don't know, but I am so tired of hearing about this book and not knowing if it is actually any good or not. So here I am. I'll be reading it next month, hopefully, and I will share my thoughts. I don't know if I'm going to do a dedicated separate video for this, or if I'll just read it and to have it as part of my wrap-ups. I feel like in my wrap-ups I do end up talking a lot about the books that I have a lot of thoughts on, so I feel like I could go either way. If you want to see a separate dedicated vlog for the yesteryear and what I think about it and the conversations going on around it, let me know in the comments. Alright, we have reached pretty much the end of my TBR, and I'm going to talk about the last 3 books together because they are part of a series, starting with The Wild Robot. This is a trilogy by Peter Brown, and I saw The Wild Robot movie in theaters with my mom, and let me tell you, we were weeping, not crying, not even weeping, we were weeping. Whatever notes I may have for the movie, oh my fucking god, I thought that overall it was so damn stunning. From the animation to the soundtrack and the characters, I was hooked. If you haven't watched the movie and you like animated movies, you like emotional movies about animals and family connections or found family, then drop what you're doing right now and go check out this movie. It is so good. But when I watched the movie, I had no idea that it was a book, and I was scrolling through Pango one day and I saw The Wild Robot, and I thought that it was just like an adaptation from the movie, like a picture book or something, and then I realized, no, not only is it a book, it is part of a series. The Wild Robot series is a 3-book series that follows a robot named Roz who washes up on this island, and she ends up having to use her skills and her programming to figure out how to live in the wild, live on this island, and to interact with the creatures that she meets there. And Roz is, at least in the movie, I don't know how much carries over, but in the movie she is a robot that is designed to help. She's supposed to be like an assistant type of robot. So while she's walking around the woods, she wants very desperately to be able to help, to find a purpose. And as part of that story, she ends up adopting and mothering a orphaned, is he a goose? Yeah, an orphaned goose. I don't know how closely the movie follows the book, and I also don't know if the wild robot escapes and the wild robot protects. I don't know if it is one continuous story or if they are like standalone adventures that Roz has. I haven't even read the backs of these books yet. Oh, okay, so the little gosling that she adopts does show up, at least in the second book. I see his name back here. I really don't know the structure of it. I don't care. I love the movie so much, and I had heard recently that the second book is also being adapted into a film, but they just announced that this year, so we probably won't get it until like, I don't know, like 2028 or the end of 2027. But I would like to have read all 3 of the books before the movies come out, so I'm going to get to that next month. I'm hoping that the books are just as lovely and emotional and thoughtful as the movie was, and I love middle grade books. I haven't read a middle grade book in a minute, but I feel like for whatever reason, I may enjoy reading, or I may find it easier to enjoy reading middle grade books more so than young adult. I feel like the age or the distance between me and a middle grade book is enough where I don't know, I feel like there's something about the fact that young adult books are close enough to my age but just far away enough that I cringe at some of those things, whereas I feel like a middle grade book, there's enough separation so that I can just appreciate it for what it is. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's a lot of words to say that I do have a lot of middle grade books just that I have collected from when I was, younger, that I would love to revisit. So you might see those popping up from time to time, but this is a series that obviously that I haven't read, so I will get to this and I'll let you know how I feel, and if I enjoy it, you may see some more middle grade books popping up every now and again. Alright, and we have made it to the end of my list. That is my entire TBR, my hopefuls list for July. I feel like I'm leaning kind of heavy on literary fiction for next month. I mean, I have the middle grade, which I guess is sci-fi, and I have some sci-fi, I have some fantasy, so it's not all literary fiction, but I don't have any non-fictions, so I'll try to remember to keep non-fiction in the list for what comes after July. August. Oh no, I have Mary Oliver. We're so good. We're so back. Let me know in the comments what books you're planning to read in July, if you have a TBR or if you're just kind of a mood reader, whatever you think you might end up picking up in July. Let me know what it is in the comments. And like I said at the beginning of this video, keep your eye out for the announcement for the giveaway that I'm going to be doing, the 10K subscriber giveaway. I am so excited, and I hope that whoever wins, you know, is able to use the prize to read something really awesome. So yeah, I will be announcing that in the next coming weeks. I guess when I put this video out, it'll be the week after, or 2 weeks after this video comes out probably. So just keep an eye out. I'll be announcing it in multiple different places, and you'll have plenty of time to enter. So I hope that you guys will have fun and you'll participate. All right, well, thank you as always for being here. Happy reading, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Body racked by